I brought the sky, like I promised I would, and I came down these stairs tonight with the most humbling sentence I know rattling round my head, the one that kept me up. Here it is. Over 11 nights, you and I sat right here and wrote the biography of the entire universe. The whole of it, from its first light to its final freezing dark. And I cannot tell you what more than 19/20ths of it is actually made of. Both of those are true at the very same time. We know the life story of everything there is, and we don't know what most of it is. So before we take another step tonight, tell me how that isn't just a flat contradiction, because it has been needling me all week.
It needled everyone who ever noticed it, and you should hold on to that discomfort. It's the truest thing you'll feel all night. But it isn't a contradiction. It only sounds like one because you're treating knowing a thing and knowing what a thing is made of as though they were the same act. They aren't even close. You can know a person's whole life, where they were born, how they lived, how one day they'll die, and never once know what is really in their heart. We have the universe's whole life in extraordinary detail. Its heart is another matter.
So you're telling me we've got the universe's whole resume and none of its diary. We know where it worked and what it accomplished, and nothing at all about what it's actually like on the inside when the doors shut.
That's it, exactly. We read the resume straight off the sky in staggering detail, and we did it honestly. But the diary, what the main characters actually are, most of that is still sealed shut. And here is the part I want you sitting with before we open a single sealed page tonight. The fact that we can tell you precisely which pages are sealed is itself the achievement. You have to know an enormous amount before you can measure the exact size of your own ignorance.
See, that's a lovely line, and I don't trust it yet. It's the kind of thing people say to sound deep on a podcast. We know exactly what we don't know. Prove it to me. And I think the only way you prove it is the long way, back to the very start. You let me feel how much we actually built, all of it, before you're allowed to show me a single hole.
Then let's earn it. 11 nights. Let me walk you back down the whole road, and…
No, let me. I've been the one asking the daft questions all season. Let me show you they stuck. You started me, on the very first night, with nothing at all. Just a dark sky. Night, out the window. The single most ordinary thing there is. And you asked me why it's dark, which sounds like the stupidest question anyone ever said out loud. It's dark because the sun went down. Next question, please.
And then I switched the sun off entirely and asked why the whole rest of the sky isn't ablaze. Say why it ought to be. You had it cold that night.
Because if the universe went on forever and had been sitting there forever, packed full of stars in every direction, then every single line I could draw out from my eye into the black should end, sooner or later, on the burning face of some star. The whole sky should be one solid, unbroken wall of fire, brighter than the sun, in every direction at once. And it isn't. I'm looking at the proof through the window right now. It's dark.
And that darkness is not nothing. It's a clue. Maybe the first real clue there ever was. The sky is dark because the universe had a beginning, and the light from the farthest stars simply hasn't had the time to reach us yet, because there hasn't been forever for it to travel. Night itself is evidence of a birth. That's the one I most hoped would stick.
It's stuck. I look out of my own window differently now, and I'll never look out of it the old way again. And tangled up in it was the idea that ran underneath the whole season, wasn't it? That to look out into space at all is to look backward in time. The light in my eye is old. I never see a star as it is, only as it was. And some of them might have died centuries ago. So I'm standing here looking at a ghost that doesn't know it's gone.
Light is a time machine. The farther out you look, the deeper into the past you see, which turns the whole night sky from a picture into a record, a history you can read if only you know how. And the next night, we took that record and noticed the writing was all reddened. Every distant galaxy, its light stretched down toward the red, and the farther off the galaxy sat, the more stretched its light came in when it reached us.
And my reading, my cheap, obvious reading, was that they're all fleeing us, like we're the smelly kid at the party nobody wants to stand next to. And you very gently pointed out that I'd made us the center of the universe. Again. Which apparently I do at every single opportunity you give me.
You do have a real gift for it. But the truth was stranger and kinder. Nothing is fleeing us. The galaxies aren't rushing apart through space. Space itself is swelling, between them, everywhere at once. The raisins in the rising loaf, every raisin watches every other raisin drift away, and the far ones fastest, and not one single raisin is the center. Stand on any galaxy you like, and you'd see the very same thing we see.
And the redness isn't the galaxies moving at all, it's the light itself getting stretched by the growing space it's crossing while it's still in flight. Stretched space, not the other thing my instinct kept reaching for. The Doppler thing, the ambulance siren thing, the pitch dropping as the thing races past. You kept swatting that out of my hands all season long.
Because it's the wrong picture, and the difference genuinely matters. The space grew while the light was traveling, and stretched the light along with it. No center to the swelling, no edge for it to swell into. The last course drilled that into us both, so we take it as earned and build straight on top of it. And then you did the brutal, obvious thing. You ran the whole film backward.
I did, because if everything's drifting apart and the space is swelling, then yesterday it was smaller, and the day before smaller still, and I keep on winding back, and everything crams together, and gets hotter and denser, and hotter still, and
there's the beginning. Come up the road to meet you. Wind the expansion all the way back, and the universe turns fierce. Hot enough that nothing can hold together. No atoms, no anything. A fireball. And not somewhere, everywhere.
And this is where you slapped the cartoon clean out of my head, because I said, the Big Bang, and I pictured what everyone pictures, a bomb. A single dot in the dark, going off, flinging shrapnel out into an empty room. And you told me nearly every piece of that is wrong.
There was no dark room around it. No empty stage for it to happen on. No outside for it to fly into. The fireball didn't go off at a point in space. It filled all of space, everywhere at once, because space itself was crammed, dense everywhere. It wasn't a bomb in a room. It was the room itself, every corner of it, catching fire in the same instant. You are standing inside that explosion right now. It never had an edge for you to stand outside of and watch.
Everywhere at once. That one still bends my neck. And then you were honest with me in a way I didn't fully clock at the time. You said we can wind the tape back astonishingly far, but not all the way. That the very first instant is a wall we can't get past.
A wall we'll walk right up to again tonight, and put our hands flat against. Set it down for now, because the fireball did one more thing before it left the story. It left us a receipt. A single scrap of light that proves the whole thing happened.
The oldest light. Oh, I love this night. This is the baby photo of the universe.
The baby photo of the whole thing. The fireball cooled, and for a long while it stayed a glowing fog. Light couldn't get anywhere at all without being knocked sideways. And then it cooled just enough for the fog to lift, for atoms to form for the very first time, and the light streamed free at last, all in one moment, right across all of space. And that freed light is still arriving. Right now. Tonight.
That's the mad part I keep chewing on. It's been swimming across the swelling universe ever since, getting stretched the whole way. Stretched so far by now that the fierce original glow has cooled to a faint hiss of microwaves, coming at me from every direction in the sky at once. Up, down, sideways, all the same faint whisper. The same baby photo falling on every world there is.
From every direction. We sit inside it. It isn't coming from a place, it's coming from a time. The oldest light there is, older than the first star, older than the first atom that ever clumped into anything at all. Light as a time machine, wound back as far back as light can possibly carry us.
And it's almost perfectly smooth, the same faint glow whichever way you point. Except not quite smooth. There are these tiny ripples in it, freckles on the baby photo, and you told me to hold on to the freckles because they'd matter more than almost anything else all season.
Freckles that grew up to be everything. Hold that thread. We tug on it twice more before the night's out. But you've skipped clean past a few minutes that mattered more than almost any other few minutes there ever were. The furnace. The first 3 minutes when the entire universe was hotter than the heart of any star that would ever burn.
The whole of space, briefly, a nuclear furnace. And in about the time it takes to boil an egg, it cooked nearly all the hydrogen and helium it would ever have. And then it cooled too far and slammed the oven shut. It was a race, you said, a window that opened and closed. Roughly 3/4 hydrogen, 1/4 helium, a whisper of the next lightest, and crucially, near enough nothing heavier than that.
And the reason that night mattered so much is that it's checkable. I handed you a real prediction. Go and find the oldest, most untouched gas anywhere in the universe, gas that's never once been cooked inside a star, and it ought to show you exactly that mix. Not roughly, exactly.
And it does. That's the triumph. The recipe the first 3 minutes wrote down is the recipe we actually read of the oldest gas, ages and ages later. A testable claim about the first minutes of all time, and it passes. But it left a hole, and you made me stick my finger right into it. The carbon in me. The oxygen I'm breathing at you right now. The iron in my blood. None of that got cooked in the furnace, so where's it from? And you just said, later. You are absolutely maddening with your laters.
I'll pay that one back before you climb the stairs, I promise. But before the elements, you'd already caught me on something. You'd started weighing galaxies. That was the night it turned personal for you.
Because that's the night you told me most of the stuff isn't the stuff. Spin a galaxy. By everything gravity ever taught us, the outskirts should dawdle, the way the outer planets crawl round the sun while the inner ones race. Because that's how gravity behaves when the weight sits where the light is. Instead, the outskirts whirl round just as fast as the middle. Every spiral galaxy we clock does the flat, impossible thing.
As though the whole thing were sitting inside some vast, heavy, invisible cocoon, holding it together, or it would fling itself to pieces from the sheer speed. Dark matter, and you tried every honest way out of it. Maybe it's just dim, ordinary stuff. Dead stars, cold gas, the lights that quietly went out and stopped shining.
And you shut every one of those doors. The furnace already told us how much ordinary matter there is to go around, and it's nowhere near enough. The books are balanced, and there's simply no room to hide that much extra. And it isn't antimatter, and it isn't a swarm of dead stars. And the light bends too, great unseen weights bending the path of light that passes near them, drawing us a map of pure mass where there's nothing shining at all.
So it isn't dim, ordinary matter, and it isn't some tidy little tweak to gravity's law either. None anyone's made fit the bending light and the clusters and the baby photo all at once. It's something else, something that doesn't shine, doesn't touch light, doesn't so much as notice light. It only pulls. something we have never once held a piece of. Keep that warm, it's the first of tonight's sealed pages.
But you were the one who showed me what the invisible was actually for. Because it isn't only a weird cocoon around each galaxy, it's the scaffolding. That was the next night, how a smooth soup became a lumpy universe. The baby photo was smooth to a whisker, so how did we ever end up with galaxies and clusters and these enormous gaping empty voids between them?
Gravity, patient and merciless. Any spot a hair denser than its neighbours pulls in a little more, which makes it denser, which pulls in more still. The rich get richer, and gravity had eons to run the sum, and the dark matter ran first. It doesn't feel light's shove, so while the ordinary matter was still being held smooth inside the glowing fog, the dark stuff was already quietly clumping in the background, building the frame.
And then the ordinary matter fell into the frame the dark matter had already built for it, and lit up. As stars, as galaxies, the smallest wrinkles growing into the largest things there are, bottom up, little clumps merging into bigger ones over and over.
And the freckles on the baby photo, the ones I told you to hold on to, those were the seeds of all of it. Gravity grew them, over ages, into the grandest structure there is, the cosmic web. Galaxies strung along glowing filaments and sheets, with voids between them so vast and so empty they simply don't fit inside a human head. Dew on a spider web, and we're one bead of it. But a galaxy full of nothing but hydrogen and helium is a dead thing. I still owed you the carbon. The later.
You did, so pay it. No more dodging.
Then here it is, paid in full at last. The stars. Every atom in you, heavier than the lightest ones, was forged inside a star. Stars are furnaces too, slower ones, fusing light nuclei into heavier ones down in their cores, climbing the ladder one rung at a time. Up to about iron, and then the fusion stops paying its way, and the great star dies. And the very heaviest things, the gold and the rest, get forged in the sheer violence of that death, and the death scatters the whole harvest back out across space.
To become the next lot of stars. Each round of them enriches the gas that makes the next round richer and richer each time. So the sun, the earth, every rock and river and living thing on it were built out of the ashes of stars that lived and died before the sun was so much as a cloud of gas.
Every bit of it. Which means the iron in your blood did not come from Earth. It was cooked in the heart of a star that was dead and gone long before the sun was born and flung across the dark, and it drifted for ages.
So that some of it could, eventually, gather into a world and into me, sitting here asking you daft questions on a Tuesday evening.
We are made of stardust. Literally, for the heavy atoms, the carbon, the oxygen, the iron, all of it's stellar ash. The hydrogen in you is the one exception. That's primordial, straight out of the fireball itself, older than any star. But the rest of you is the ash of dead stars, gathered up and arranged for a little while into something that can look up and wonder. We are the way the universe grew eyes and turned round to look at itself. Hold that one especially close. I want it back at the very end of the night.
You'll get it back. So, we had matter, dark matter, stars, the whole cosmic web, and I honestly thought we were very nearly done. And then you told me the whole thing is speeding up.
The gut punch of the season. For the better part of a century, the only real question about the future was how fast the expansion was slowing down. Because gravity pulls, and pulling should be putting the brakes on the whole thing. Then someone measured it properly, using exploding stars halfway across the universe as mile markers, faint dying flares of known brightness. And it isn't slowing at all. It is speeding up. Something is pressing the accelerator of the entire cosmos.
And you called it dark energy, and you were very stern with me that it is not dark matter wearing a different coat, that I was never, ever to let those two blur together.
Razor apart those two. Dark matter pulls and clumps and builds the scaffolding and hides in the dark. Dark energy is the opposite temperament entirely, a push and a smooth, even one, the same everywhere. Some energy that seems to belong to empty space itself. And here's the sting of it. The more space there is, the more of that energy there is, so it never thins out. Matter dilutes as the universe grows. This does not, which means, given enough time, it always wins.
And that was the night the recipe turned properly humiliating, because we counted it all up. The ordinary stuff, every star, every planet, you, me, all the furnaces' hydrogen, a thin sliver. Dark matter, quite a bit more than that. And this dark energy, the thing we'd only just been introduced to, is the great sprawling majority of everything there is.
The pie we'd been quietly redrawing all season long landed in its final uncomfortable shape. And Einstein's ghost turned up for it. The very fudge factor he once added to hold the universe still, and then called the great blunder of his life, came back from the dead as the best name we've got for the thing that's now tearing the universe apart.
You know what gets me most? Looking back over the whole arc, that recipe kept changing shape right under our feet all season long. Early on it was ordinary stuff, the hydrogen, the helium, the blazing stars. Then dark matter crowded most of it out, and by that night the ordinary matter, the only kind we can actually see and touch, had been shoved right down into the corner of the plate.
Shoved into the corner, and then the corner itself kept shrinking. Every single night we learned a little more. The slice that we ourselves are made of got a little thinner. That may be the strangest thing in the whole recipe. The better we came to understand the universe, the less of it turned out to be anything remotely like us.
And then, having shown me the end, you spun me all the way back to the very beginning again, to the first sliver of the first second. Inflation, to pay off 2 old debts, you said.
2 debts left over from the baby photo. Remember, it was suspiciously smooth, the same temperature in patches of sky on the exact opposite sides of us. And here's the trouble. Those patches, in the ordinary history of the universe, had never once been close enough to swap heat, or a signal, or anything at all. So how on earth do 2 total strangers, who have never met, end up matching each other to a hair?
And the answer was this genuinely outrageous thing. That in the first unimaginably brief instant, the universe doubled and doubled and doubled again, ballooned by an amount that just doesn't go into words nicely. One tiny, smooth, snug patch, small enough that it had gotten cozy and even all over, blown up in a fraction of a blink to hold absolutely everything we can now see. So, of course, the sky matches itself. It was all one neighborhood once.
All one neighborhood, stretched apart. And the loveliest part of the whole night? Go on, say it, because I know you still don't quite believe you're allowed to.
The loveliest part is the freckles, coming back a 3rd time. The freckles on the baby photo, the seeds of every galaxy, of the whole cosmic web, of you and of me, began as microscopic quantum jitters. Tiny random flickers in the very, very small. And inflation caught them and stretched them up to the size of the sky before they could settle.
The biggest structures in all of existence may be the smallest things there are, blown up beyond any reason. The galaxies are quantum trembles, enlarged. I remember you had to get up and go for a walk after that one landed.
I did, round the block twice, and then, last night, you did the properly cruel thing. You took the acceleration and ran it forward instead of back, all the way to the end of everything.
The old fork was whether gravity would win and haul everything back into a fiery crunch, or lose and let it all drift apart forever. And dark energy answered it. It drifts apart, faster and faster. The galaxies slide beyond reach, one by one, over a horizon we can't see past. Not gone, mind you, just stretched too far to ever see again. The stars burn down, new ones stop being born, and the whole thing thins and cools and quiets toward a long, cold, formless dark.
Heat death. And you said the thing that actually got me, that we happen to be alive in the one brief chapter when the lights are still on, when there are stars burning and a sky worth looking up at.
The universe's brief, luminous morning. And underneath all of it, the reason there's a beginning and an end to tell it all. The arrow of time. Entropy climbing, order running steadily down into disorder. The universe ran from hot and ordered toward cold and shapeless, and that running, that one-way slide, is the whole of what forward even means.
And the strangest part of the whole arc for me is that we're not even in the thick of the story. We turned up late. Most of the history was already written and finished before there was a single soul anywhere to read a word of it.
Latecomers, every last one of us. The fireball, the first light, the forging of the elements, the raising of the whole cosmic web, all of it long done and dusted before the Earth was so much as a speck of dust itself. We never once watched the universe grow up. We arrived near the end of its long morning, found its diary lying open on the table, and slowly taught ourselves to read the handwriting.
And that is the Empire. That is what 11 nights built between us, from a dark window to the heat death of everything that is. So, all right, I'll grant it, that is a genuinely staggering amount of knowing, which somehow makes me even less ready for whatever you've been circling all night. So, out with it, what don't we know?
Now you're ready. You couldn't feel the weight of the questions until you'd felt the full weight of the answers. That was the whole reason for the long walk back. So, the ledger, and I'm going to be exactly as honest with you as the science is with itself. 3 facts sit at the dead center of everything we just walked through. 3, and every last one of them, is a mystery we have not cracked.
The 3 biggest facts are 3 question marks.
The 3 biggest facts are 3 question marks. First one, you already held it warm. Dark matter. We are certain it is there. The spinning galaxies, the bending light, the whole scaffolding of the web. A dozen separate lines of evidence, none of them talking to each other, and every one of them lands in the same place. There is an enormous amount of it, far more than all the shining stuff put together.
But we haven't the faintest idea what it actually is.
Not the faintest. We've never caught a single piece. We don't know if it's some new kind of particle we simply haven't met yet, or something stranger still. And it isn't for want of hunting either. We have built the most exquisite traps, buried them deep underground, far from every disturbance, and we have sat and watched, for years on end, for a single grain of the stuff to blunder in and announce itself. And it never has. Not once.
Hang on. That has the exact shape of a story you told me in another course entirely. The perfect trap, built to catch the invisible thing everyone was certain was there. And it comes home empty.
It's a cousin of that story, and you're right to hear the echo in it. We know this stuff's weight. We know exactly what it does. We've mapped where it sits across the whole of the sky, and we cannot tell you what a single grain of it is. We know it the way you know a stranger from their footprints alone. Every stride, the weight of them, the whole path across the room, and we have never once seen a foot.
All right, that's one sealed page. Dark matter, sure that it's there, no idea what it is. What's the second?
The second is worse, because it's bigger. Dark energy, the thing doing most of everything to the universe, pushing the whole of it apart faster and faster. We are confident it is real, we have watched it work. And its nature is a near total blank. We don't even know the most basic thing about it, which is whether it holds perfectly steady, forever, or drifts, ever so slightly, over the long ages.
And does that matter? Steady or drifting? Honestly, it sounds like a footnote.
It's the whole of the future. It's the least footnotey thing there is. If it holds steady, you get the long, cold heat death we walked through last night. If it strengthens, it could one day tear apart even galaxies and stars and atoms and empty every scrap of structure out of the sky. If it was somehow to weaken and reverse, the whole thing could yet come crashing back into a crunch. The ending of the universe hangs on a property of dark energy that we simply have not measured.
So last night, when you told me how it all ends, the long, cold heat death, you were quietly leaning the whole way on something we haven't actually pinned down.
Leaning hard. That's the honest footnote sitting under the whole of last night. Heat death is the way to bet, given everything we can see right now. But it is a bet, not a verdict. Pin down what dark energy truly is, and you don't only learn what it's made of, you learn how the story ends.
But we said it's the energy of empty space. Einstein's blunder, reborn. That sounded like a real answer at the time.
It's our best guess, and it's a name, not an explanation. Call it the energy of empty space if you like. But then honesty forces the very next question straight away. Why does it have the particular size it has? And there our best reasoning about what empty space ought to weigh misses the measured value by a margin so colossal that wrong is far too kind a word for it. It is the single largest gap between a prediction and a measurement anywhere in all of physics.
So, our theory of the most abundant thing in the entire universe is off by, and you are not going to hand me a number, are you?
No digits in this house. You know the rules. But picture guessing a friend's weight and being wrong by more than the combined weight of every star you have ever seen in your whole life. That kind of wrong. So, no, we do not understand dark energy. We understand that we don't, which is a start, and very nearly the whole of it.
2 sealed pages. And I can feel the third one coming because you keep glancing back over your shoulder at that wall. The first instant. The one you kept saying later about, all season long.
The wall. Here's the third, and it's the deepest of the three. We can run the tape back. The expansion, the fireball, the furnace, the first sliver of a second. Astonishingly far. But the machinery we use to run it back breaks. Right at the very first moment. It hands us nonsense, infinities, quantities that blow up past all meaning, and it stops dead.
Stops dead. And an infinity. When the maths hands you back an infinity, that's usually the maths itself confessing it's out of its depth, isn't it? Not the universe actually going and turning infinite.
That's the right way to read it, and it's oddly hopeful once you do. An infinity is a theory raising its hand and admitting it's been carried clean past the edge of where it works. The universe isn't the thing that's breaking. Our description of it is, which means there's a better description still out there somewhere, waiting for somebody to sit down and find it.
Breaks how? The machinery being the whole picture of stretching, curving space. The stuff last season taught us both, night after night.
That very picture. It is magnificent, and it governs the large and the smooth and the heavy. But the first instant was the entire universe crammed impossibly, unthinkably small, and the small is ruled by a completely different law. The law of the quantum. The flickering and the jittery and the uncertain. And we do not have a theory that marries those two laws together.
The big and smooth rules and the tiny and flickering rules just don't get along.
They don't so much as speak to one another. And here's the strange thing. Everywhere else in the whole universe, you only ever need one of them. The very big, or the very small, never both in the very same breath. The first instant is the single place in all of history that was both at once, enormously heavy and vanishingly small at the very same time. And to describe that, you'd need exactly the marriage of the two that we simply do not have.
People have a name for the missing theory though, don't they? I've heard the phrase thrown around.
People have a name for it, quantum gravity, but the name is a promissory note, nothing more. Nobody has cashed it. Nobody has written the thing down and shown it works. We have brilliant, competing, half-built attempts at it, and not one of them is finished, and not one of them is confirmed by so much as a single measurement.
So the third sealed page is the first page of the whole book, and it's the one page we can't read at all.
The first page is missing. We read the second page onward in exquisite detail, but the moment of the beginning itself, what the universe was actually doing at the very instant the tape starts to roll, is behind that wall, and we do not have the tools to see through it. Not yet.
Let me lay all three of them side by side on the table because I want to feel the whole weight at once. What the universe is mostly made of, sealed. What is doing most of everything to it, sealed. And how it actually began, sealed. The stuff, the force, and the beginning, the three biggest things there are.
All three. And now, you said the sentence at the very top of the night, and I want you to say it one more time, because you have properly earned it now. Add up the sealed pages. Dark matter plus dark energy. Put the two of them together.
The two of them together are more than 19/20ths of everything there is. And every single thing we can actually see, every star, every galaxy, every atom of the furnace's hydrogen, you, me, this whole warm lit-up world, is the little bit that's left over at the end. Less than a 20th of the total.
Less than a 20th. Everything that shines. Everything you have ever laid eyes on, or ever will. A thin skin of foam on a very dark and very deep sea. More than 19 parts in 20 of the universe is stuff we have named only by what it does. The way it pulls, the way it pushes, and never once by what it actually is.
And here's the thing I keep tripping over. That should feel like a failure. The great triumphant season. And the punchline is that we can't name most of the thing we spent the whole of it studying. And it doesn't feel like a failure. And I can't for the life of me work out why not.
Because a confused science cannot tell you the size of its own confusion. It just gropes about in the fog, and every direction looks the same. We can hand you that figure to the inch, more than 19/20ths, precisely because everything around the blank spot is nailed down cold. You have to have built a very, very good map before you can point at the one empty patch on it and say, with a perfectly steady hand, there, that much. That is exactly what we haven't drawn yet.
The blank on the map is measured to the inch.
To the inch. That is a triumph wearing a mystery's coat. But I've only given you the three we can at least point straight at. And there are questions underneath these three that are wilder still. And I am not going to send you up the stairs pretending they aren't down here in the dark with us.
Wilder than we don't know what most of the universe is made of? Go on then. What's under the floor?
The floor is that wall. The first instant. And the honest questions people ask when they stand right up against it run clean off the edge of the map. The first one is the one every child asks and every physicist quietly flinches at. What came before the Big Bang?
And I already know you're about to tell me that the question might not even be a question.
It might not. And here's the subtlety, and I want it clean. Time itself, as best we can tell, and last season fought hard to teach us this, is not some stage the universe merely sits on top of. It's part of the very same fabric that began at that wall. So asking what came before the beginning may be like asking what lies north of the North Pole.
There's no north of the North Pole. You walk all the way up to the pole, and then every direction you can possibly turn is suddenly south. There's just no more map that way. The question runs clean out of ground to stand on.
That's one honest possibility, and it's a clean one. Before might simply run out at the very instant everything else starts. But, and this is the part I flatly refuse to dress up for you, It is only one possibility. Maybe before is empty and time truly begins at the wall. Or maybe something did come first, and the wall is not the true beginning at all, but a doorway from somewhere we cannot yet describe. And we cannot currently tell which of those two it is.
So even the question, was there a before, is wide open. Not answered and boring, genuinely open.
Wide open. And it forks, from there, into the very wildest ideas people entertain. And here I have to change how I'm talking to you, because for the rest of the night, I am not handing you answers. I'm laying out guesses, and I'm going to label each and every one of them, honestly, as a guess.
Good, I'll hold you to that. No smuggling a favourite one in wearing a facts coat when I'm not looking.
You have my word on it. So, the ideas. One family of them says, perhaps our universe isn't the only one there is. Perhaps what we've been calling everything all season is just one bubble among countless others. A multiverse, each bubble with its own history and maybe even its own laws, and ours simply the one we happen to have been born inside.
And where does an idea like that even come from? It sounds like something you'd dream up after a bad supper, not something you'd derive.
It comes from taking certain other ideas seriously and following them out to their end, including a nagging question we haven't said aloud yet, which is, why do the laws of our universe have the very particular settings they have? Settings that, had they been much different at all, would have left no stars, no galaxies, nobody here to ask the question. One answer is a multiverse, countless universes with countless different settings, and of course, we find ourselves in one of the rare ones that lets us exist to notice.
And is there a shred of proof of that? Any at all?
None you could take to court. It's a serious idea, but no one has ever seen another universe, and it is fiercely argued whether anyone ever could, even in principle. It might be forever untestable, and if it is, some would say it's barely science at all, just a story. That's not me being coy with you, that's the honest status of the thing. Take it as one possibility, and no more than that.
And even if there are others out there, could we ever reach one? Knock on the wall, send a signal, wait for some kind of reply?
Almost certainly never. If they are real, each one would be sealed behind its own horizon, further off than the farthest thing we can see, and racing away faster than any light could ever cross the gap between us. Company you could never call, never visit, never once confirm was there at all. Which is part of why so many people are uneasy with the whole notion. A thing you can neither see nor test sits uncomfortably close to no idea at all.
One universe, or countless, and we can't tell which. What are the other guesses at the wall?
Another one says the beginning was never really a beginning at all, that the universe bounces, that before our expansion there was a contraction, a previous universe squeezing all the way down to the wall and rebounding back out into ours. A cyclic universe. Expand, contract, bounce, expand again, over and over, with no true first page anywhere, because on that picture there is always another page before this one.
So one idea says time starts at the wall, and there is no before at all. Another says there's a whole universe on the far side of the wall, and another one before that, going back forever. Those two obviously can't both be right.
They can't. And there's a third camp still, which says, stop guessing entirely until we've built the tool. That we cannot honestly say a single word about the far side of that wall until we finally have quantum gravity in hand, and only then will we even know what, if anything, the beginning truly means. And that is the point I most need you to carry up the stairs with you. The bounce, the many bubbles, the wait for the tool. They are rival guesses, and not one of them has won. Not a single one.
They're just all sitting there on the table together. Nobody's holding the winning card.
Nobody is holding the winning card. And anyone who tells you, with a perfectly straight face, that they know what happened at the first instant, or before it, if there even is a before, is selling you a guess dressed up as a fact. The plain truth is that we stand at that wall with our hands open and empty. These are the shapes we can imagine the far side might have. We cannot yet tell which, or even whether shape is the right word for any of it.
And then there's the biggest one of all, the one I almost don't want to say out loud, because it sounds like the sort of thing a person says at 2 in the morning and regrets by breakfast.
Say it anyway. It's the oldest question there is.
Why is there anything at all? Not how did the universe begin, but why is there a universe to begin? Why is there something, rather than just nothing? No stars, no space, no time, no wall to even run up against. Just nothing, forever.
And here is where I have to be the most careful with you of the entire night. Because it would be so easy and so completely dishonest to pretend that the season answered that one. It did not. Cosmology tells the story of the something magnificently, how it grew, what it's made of, how it will one day end. It does not tell you why there is a something for the story to be about in the first place.
It doesn't even try?
It can push the how back further, and further, and further still. That's what the whole of this season really was when you stand back. Pushing how back toward the wall, one night at a time. But why is there anything at all sits on the far side of every single wall we've got? It may well be the one question that was never cosmology's to answer. And a scientist who tells you the equations explain why there's a universe instead of nothing has quietly swapped a real mystery for a comforting noise and hoped you wouldn't notice the switch.
So that one stays open too, maybe forever.
Maybe forever. And I would far, far rather leave it honestly open than hand you a fake key that fits no lock anywhere in the house.
Does that ever weigh on you? Spending a whole life on the story of everything, and knowing the very first why is one you'll most likely never lay a single finger on.
Weigh on me? No. If anything, it steadies me. It marks the honest edge of the trade. I get to push the how further than anyone a few generations back could have dreamed, right up to the wall itself. The why is there anything at all I leave, gladly, to the poets and the philosophers and the small hours of the morning. Knowing which questions are actually mine to answer isn't a limit on the wonder. It is the shape of it.
I have to say, I came down here tonight braced for all this to be a letdown, the big season finale, and the closing line is, and we don't know, and we don't know, and we really, really don't know. It ought to feel deflating, and it just doesn't. And you keep telling me why, and I keep not quite believing you, so tell me one more time, straight, and make it land.
Because you're looking at the whole thing the wrong way round. The way nearly everyone does, the first time. You think the unknowns are the holes in the achievement. They are not. They are the edges of it. Think about what it actually takes to draw an edge. To point at a wall and say, the map runs out precisely here and not 1 inch sooner. You have to have mapped everything in full detail right up to it.
The ignorance is shaped by the knowledge.
The ignorance is shaped exactly by the knowledge. A science that knew nothing at all couldn't show you one clean edge. It would just be fog all the way down, one mystery indistinguishable from the next. Cosmology is the precise opposite of that. It has mapped the entire life of the universe well enough to point with a steady hand at the 3 or 4 places where the map genuinely gives out. That is not a science that is lost. That is a science that knows exactly where it is standing.
And where it's standing is right at the frontier.
Right at the very frontier. Every one of those sealed pages, what dark matter is, what dark energy is, what's behind the wall, whether there's a before, whether there's an else, why there's anything at all, every single one of them is a live question, being worked on right now, tonight, by people who are looking up. Not one of them is closed, and that isn't the sad ending. And it isn't a neat bow either. That is the door.
The door, left standing open on purpose.
On purpose, and left open for whoever comes next. That's the one thing I most want you carrying up those stairs, not the answers we managed to give you over 11 nights, the questions we couldn't, because those are the only ones left with a name still available on them.
And when you say you don't mean me, sitting here on a podcast. You mean anyone. Whoever happens to be out there listening right now.
I mean, whoever is out there listening. The person who finally cracks what dark matter is has almost certainly not done it yet. The one who reads that missing first page might be a child at this very minute, lying out in the grass, looking up at a dark sky and flatly refusing to be told the question is a silly one. The door isn't a metaphor, and it isn't flattery. It's a job opening.
Say the stardust thing. You told me to make you give it back at the very end. So, give it back.
The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the oxygen in the very breath you're taking right now, this second. All of it cooked in the hearts of stars that died before the sun was born, scattered across the dark, and gathered up again after ages into a world, and into you. You are made of the oldest stuff there is, arranged for a little while into something that can look up and wonder. We are the universe-grown eyes. We are the way it turns round and asks itself what on earth it is.
And it doesn't fully know yet.
It doesn't fully know yet. More than 19/20ths of itself is still a stranger to it. And you, the part of it that's finally awake and asking. You get to be alive in the one brief, lit-up morning, with the stars still burning and a sky still worth reading, at the exact moment the biggest questions are all still open. That is not bad luck. That is the best seat in the whole of time.
All right, I think I finally see what you've been doing all season, and it was never once teaching me the answers. So let me try the ending myself, and you stop me if I get it wrong. We started at a dark window, and out of that darkness and the thin old light that crosses it, we read the entire life of the universe. The expansion, the fireball, the oldest light, the elements, the invisible weight, the web, the stardust, the acceleration, the first breath, and the long, cold end.
Every bit of it. All of it, read straight off the light. Go on.
And then, having read the whole story, Cosmology did the single bravest thing a science can do. It turned to the last few pages, the ones it can't read yet, and instead of faking them, instead of scribbling something in to look complete, it pointed straight at them and said, "Not us, not yet, maybe you." What most of this is made of, how it truly began, whether there's a before or an else, or a reason for any of it to be here at all, open. All of it, open. Waiting.
Waiting. That's the whole of it. We drew the map right out to its very edges, and then we set down the pencil and we handed it to you.
Then here's where I'll leave it. Not with a bow, because there isn't one, and you'd never in 100 years let me tie one anyway. Tonight, when the sky goes dark, and now I finally know why it's dark, that the darkness itself is the oldest clue there ever was. Go outside and look up. Every single point of light up there is a little time machine showing you the past. Most of what's between them has no name yet. The first page is still missing. And the universe grew you out of stardust in its one bright morning for exactly this, so that some small part of it could stand out in the dark, look up at all the rest and ask. So ask. We read the whole story out of that light, drew the edge of the map, and left everything past the edge for whoever's looking up next. That's you. Good night, and keep looking up.